There is a moment somewhere between the last exhale of evening and the first stillness of night when the world finally stops asking things of you. The notifications quiet, the responsibilities recede, the voices both outside and inside grow faint. And in that silence, something unexpected can happen. You can feel it even now, perhaps, reading these words. A subtle weight that hasn't left your shoulders since morning, a low hum of unfinished business running beneath every thought, a quiet anxiety that whispers you haven't done enough, resolved enough, become enough to deserve the rest that is already calling you. You lie down, but the mind does not. It replays the meeting that went sideways. It rehearses the conversation you should have handled differently. It scrolls through the list of everything that remains undone, measuring the distance between where you are and where you believe you should be. And so the body rests, but the person inside does not. You close your eyes, but you're still somewhere else. Still in the middle of the day, still bracing, still holding. Does this feel familiar? Not as an occasional inconvenience, but as the texture of most nights? If so, you are not broken. You are not failing at rest. You are simply carrying something you were never meant to carry this far. And tonight, gently, we will learn to set it down. If these words are finding you at a moment when your evenings feel heavier than they should, consider staying close. There is more of this quiet wisdom ahead, and it was made for exactly where you are right now. There is a teaching that runs like a thread through the oldest contemplative traditions, and it says this: the way you end a day quietly shapes the person who wakes the next morning, not in dramatic ways, not through grand rituals or perfect routines, but through something far simpler and far more powerful, through the quality of attention you bring to the threshold between one day and the next. In Buddhist understanding, the night is not merely a biological interruption. It is a liminal space, a crossing point, a small death and a small rebirth happening in the span of hours you spend unconscious. What you carry into that space does not disappear when you fall asleep. It settles into the nervous system. It shapes the architecture of your dreams. It colors the first feeling you encounter when consciousness returns in the morning. This is why so many people wake already tired, not because sleep failed them, but because they never truly left the day behind. They brought the residue of it, the unresolved arguments, the unfinished anxieties, the quiet self-judgment into the dark with them, and the dark held it faithfully until morning. What follows are 6 reflections, offered not as commands or obligations, but as invitations. 6 gentle doorways through which you might pass each evening, leaving a little more behind with each step, arriving at sleep a little lighter, a little cleaner, a little more at peace with the imperfect and beautiful fact of being human. The first doorway carries a simple phrase, 3 words that contain more liberation than most people realize. Today is complete. Say it slowly. Today is complete. Feel what happens in your chest when you allow those words to be true. For most people, nothing about the day ever feels truly complete. There's always something unfinished, something unresolved, some task that rolled over from yesterday and will roll again into tomorrow. The American mind, in particular, has been trained since childhood to measure days by their productivity, to feel the weight of incompleteness as a moral failing rather than a natural condition. You were taught in 1,000 subtle ways that rest must be earned, that relaxation is a reward for those who have finished. And since finishing is always just slightly out of reach, the permission to rest never quite arrives. Buddhist wisdom offers a radical reframing of this belief. It teaches that impermanence is not a problem to be solved, but a truth to be inhabited. The day that has passed is already gone. Not partially gone, not almost gone. Completely, irreversibly, and permanently gone. The meetings, the mistakes, the small victories, the moments of connection and the moments of disconnection, all of it has already entered the unchangeable past, which is to say, all of it has already been released from the domain of what you can influence. Clinging to it now, turning it over in your mind, as though you might still alter its shape, is like standing at the edge of the ocean trying to call back a wave that has already dissolved into the deep. Tonight, before you close your eyes, try something small. Sit at the edge of your bed or lie quietly on your back and speak these words silently to yourself. This day is done. I release what I could not finish. I release what I could not fix. I release what I could not be. The day asked everything of you, and you gave what you had. That is enough. That has always been enough. Notice what happens in the body when you allow this to be true. The way the shoulders might drop half an inch, the way the jaw might soften slightly, the way the breath might deepen by just one small degree. That softening is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the body recognizing a truth the mind has been resisting all day. The second doorway opens into something the American culture often treats as sentimental or naive, but which the oldest traditions in the world have always known to be a form of medicine, gratitude. Not the forced performative gratitude of listing blessings before you deserve to rest. Not the gratitude that arrives as an obligation, as one more thing you failed to feel adequately today, but a quieter, more honest form of noticing. The kind that happens when you finally stop scanning for what is missing and allow yourself to see what is still here. The mind has a negativity bias that evolution installed for survival purposes and that modern life has amplified beyond all usefulness. It is wired to notice threat, lack, and danger far more readily than it notices adequacy, abundance, and safety. This is why, left to its natural momentum, the mind at the end of a day catalogs its disappointments with far more precision than its gifts. You remember the email that came too late, the opportunity you may have missed, the words you wished you hadn't spoken, but the glass of water that was there when you were thirsty, the body that carried you through 12 hours without catastrophic failure, the small moment of unexpected kindness from a stranger. These pass almost unnoticed, like light through a window you forgot to look at. Each evening before sleep, rest your attention gently on 3 small things that happened today that were not terrible. They do not need to be remarkable. A cup of coffee that tasted right, a moment of quiet before the day grew loud, the fact that your lungs expanded and contracted approximately 20,000 times today without requiring your conscious attention, a song that came on at the right moment, the particular quality of light in the late afternoon that you noticed for just a second before the next thought arrived. Let these things come to you slowly without effort, the way objects become visible when your eyes adjust to low light. Feel them for a moment, not as ideas but as sensations. Warmth in the chest, a slight loosening around the eyes, something that might be called satisfaction, if you let yourself use that word. This is not pretending the day was good when it was hard. This is simply refusing to let the difficult parts be the only parts that count. The difficult parts are real, and so are the gifts hidden inside them. The patience you practiced even when it cost you, the moment you chose kindness when frustration would have been easier, the breath you took before speaking when speaking too quickly would have caused harm. Even in the hardest days, there are these seeds. Gratitude is the act of finding them before the night swallows them whole. The third doorway is the one most people approach and then step back from, because it asks something that feels both simple and almost impossibly difficult. It asks you to forgive, not tomorrow, not when the other person acknowledges what they did, not when you have processed everything fully and feel ready. Now tonight, before you sleep, in whatever imperfect and incomplete way you are capable of, forgive. The Buddha described resentment as a hot coal held in the hand. You pick it up intending to throw it at someone who has wronged you, and you stand there holding it, burning, while they go about their lives entirely unaware of the fire in your palm. This is what unresolved resentment does in the body at night. It activates the stress response. It keeps the nervous system in a state of low-grade vigilance, scanning for threats that are not currently present but feel emotionally immediate. The person you are angry at is not in your bedroom, but the story you are telling about them is, and the body cannot distinguish between the presence of a threat and the vivid mental narration of one. Forgiveness in this context is not a moral achievement or an act of generosity towards the person who hurt you. It is an act of radical self-interest. It is the decision to stop burning yourself with a coal that was never yours to hold this long. It does not mean what happened was acceptable. It does not mean trust has been restored or consequences have been waived. It means only this: I am no longer willing to let what they did live in my body tonight. And then there is the forgiveness that is even harder, the one most people avoid entirely: forgiving yourself. The harsh word you said this morning, the commitment you didn't keep, the moment you lost patience with someone you love, the opportunity you let pass, the version of yourself you imagined you would be by now. Tonight, place one hand gently on your chest, over your heart, and say quietly, I am a human being. I did what I could with what I had. I am not my worst moment today. I am allowed to begin again. Feel the weight of that permission settling somewhere deep in the sternum, like something that has been held at tension for a very long time, being slowly, carefully released. The fourth doorway asks you to witness yourself with the same compassion you would offer a close friend who had just described their day to you. Imagine someone you love sitting across from you, exhausted, telling you about everything they attempted today, the things that worked and the things that didn't, the effort they poured into something that yielded uncertain results, the small acts of courage that went unnoticed, the moments they fell short of their own expectations. Would you look at that person and say, you should have done more, you weren't good enough, that effort doesn't count because the outcome was imperfect? Of course not. You would say, you tried, you showed up. The trying itself is the thing. And yet, internally, most people speak to themselves in a voice they would never use with someone they love. The fourth reflection of the evening is a simple, honest acknowledgement. I practiced the best I could today, not the best that exists in theory, not the best that some imagined superior version of you would have managed, the best that was available to this particular human being on this particular day, with this particular amount of sleep and energy and emotional bandwidth. Buddhist teaching speaks of effort as a seed. You do not plant a seed and then stand over it demanding that it become a tree by morning. You plant it, water it, and trust the process of growth that operates on its own timeline, according to its own wisdom. Every moment of patience you practice today, even the imperfect ones, even the ones where you caught yourself only halfway through losing it, with this purpose, is a seed. Every time you chose to breathe before reacting, to listen before defending, to soften when hardening would have been easier, you planted something. The harvest is not yours to control. The planting is. Rest in the knowledge that you planted something today, however small, and that small things grown with consistency become, in time, something astonishing. The fifth doorway opens onto a truth that the American mind resists perhaps more than any other, because it strikes at the foundation of the achievement orientation that runs so deeply through this culture. The truth is this: everything changes, and that is not a problem. It is the nature of existence itself. The project that consumed you this week will not consume you forever. The difficult season you are in will not be the permanent weather of your life. The success you worked so hard to reach will shift and transform into some things you didn't anticipate. The pain that feels structural, that feels like it has always been there and always will be, is already, even now, in the process of changing, because everything is always in the process of changing, including the pain. Think of a river, not the idea of a river, but an actual river. The way the water never stops moving, the way no two moments of its surface are identical, the way it accommodates rocks and roots and seasonal floods by flowing around and through them rather than insisting on a straight, uninterrupted path. Your life is that river, not a stone monument to be preserved, not a machine to be optimized for consistent output, but a living, moving, seasonally shifting current that has always found its way forward. The suffering that comes from clinging, from insisting that the good things stay and the hard things leave on your schedule, is one of the most exhausting forms of suffering there is, because it requires constant effort against a current that will always in the end move the way it moves. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, try saying this softly to yourself. Things are changing and I do not need to stop them. The worry I feel about tomorrow is already changing. The difficulty I experience today has already begun to transform. I do not need to hold any of it in place. I can let the river move. Feel what happens when you release the grip, even fractionally, even for just this night. The body knows how to rest. It has been waiting for permission. If what you're finding here speaks to something you have been searching for, and you would like more of this quiet guidance to accompany your evenings, there is more waiting for you. A gentle continuation of this conversation, offered freely whenever you need it. The sixth and final doorway is the widest one, and it opens not inward but outward, not toward yourself alone, but toward the vast, aching, quietly beautiful community of human beings who are right now in this same dark hour, lying in their own beds, carrying their own weights, hoping for their own small releases. In Buddhist practice, this doorway is called metta, loving kindness, and it is perhaps the most quietly revolutionary practice in the entire tradition. It begins with yourself. Before you sleep tonight, breathe in slowly and offer these words to your own heart. May I be safe. May I be at peace. May I be free from unnecessary suffering. May I rest well tonight. Feel these words landing somewhere in the chest, not as performance but as genuine intention, as the acknowledgement that you too are a being who deserves to be treated with care. Then let the circle expand. Bring to mind someone you love easily or tragedy, a friend, a family member, someone whose face appears when you think of warmth. Offer them the same words silently. May you be safe, may you be at peace, may you rest. Then let the circle expand again. Someone neutral, or a colleague you rarely think about, a neighbor you know only by sight. May you be safe, may you be at peace. Then, if you can, let it expand once more. To someone with whom things are difficult, someone you find hard to think of with warmth. You do not need to feel warmth. You only need to be willing to offer the words, even dryly, even imperfectly. May you be safe, may you be at peace. And then let the circle become as wide as your imagination can make it. Every person sleeping tonight in your city, every person awake in the cities where it is still daytime, every being carrying something heavy, every being hoping for rest and peace and some relief from what they carry. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free. What this practice does to the mind is not metaphorical or symbolic. When you expand your awareness beyond the tight circle of personal anxiety, beyond your own unfinished list, your own unresolved conflicts, your own uncertain future, the mind becomes, almost involuntarily, larger, and a larger mind is a calmer mind. The problem that felt enormous inside the closed room of self-preoccupation becomes, when placed against the backdrop of all human experience, still real but somehow more workable, more proportionate, more survivable. These 6 reflections are not a system to master. They are not another set of standards against which to measure your daily performance. They are not homework. They are invitations, gentle, open, available to you in whatever imperfect and partial form you can manage on any given night. Some evenings you will move through all 6 with a kind of ease that surprises you. Other evenings you will manage only one or half of one, or simply the intention to try, and then fall asleep before anything feels resolved. All of it counts. The intention is the practice. The turning toward is the thing. What matters is not that you perform these reflections perfectly, but that you return to them night after night in the small and imperfect ways that real human lives actually move. The hand that has been closed around the tensions of the day can open slowly, one finger at a time. The mind that has been running since early morning can be offered permission at last to stop. You do not need to carry any of this into tomorrow. Tomorrow is not here yet, and when it arrives, you will meet it as you always have, with whatever you have. Tonight, you only need to arrive here, in this breath, in this stillness, with your imperfect and sufficient and quietly courageous self. May you sleep well, may you wake gently, may something in you even now recognize that you are already enough. And if you would like this kind of quiet companionship to find you each time the day ends and the night begins, stay close, because there is always more light waiting just ahead.